Tyler from the Aspire Sports Show, and today we have a special guest here. As I said, there's going to be a new guest basically every single day, but today we have Cruz on the show today. He's a high school friend, a long friend of the podcast as well. So, how you doing, Cruz?
Doing great, Tyler. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, as I am every single day. So, I appreciate you coming on the show, being a part of this, morning show that we're going to do every single day. So, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. That's it. It's going to be fun. Let's do this.
So, as you guys know, this is going to be a daily show where we're just going to talk sports. It's mainly going to focus on football right now, especially, fantasy football, because that's what we're specializing in. So, let's go ahead and get into the show today. So, obviously, you have camp starting, and there's going to be a bunch of camp news that you're going to hear out there. Like, oh, this guy looks like he's in the best shape of his life. As we saw, there's pictures of Ben Roethlisberger, and apparently out of his camp, it was said that he was in the best shape of his life. But he said that nobody in his camp said that. So you just get a bunch of like random information thrown out there. So we have my personal favorite so far has been the Chase Edmonds though one that was like he's in the best shape of his life. He got a bunch of muscle and he also lost or what was the exact quote? He bulked up but slimmed down and it's like what the fuck? How does that work? How do you bulk up and slim down? I guess you can do that, but you just hear a bunch of shit. So, but today it was a very important day in news because the things that you're looking for um are like when beat reporters are talking about guys that are like first on the depth chart, this person looks good in practice, this person doesn't look good in practice, a person getting first team reps. Today we have Michael Carter, who is a rookie for the New York Jets, come out with the first team and get the first team reps with the team today. He was the first starter. So this is big news because we weren't sure exactly how this running back situation was going to look like with Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson, other guys in that backfield. But now we have Michael Carter. It seems like he is the leader in this backfield. So he's currently going as RB number 35, 83rd overall. Cruz, do you have any interest in Michael Carter? Maybe anybody else on the Jets? Or are you completely like avoiding this team in general?
So, this isn't really a team I'm chasing after per se. We go back and we look at the Jets of last year. Obviously, this team is revamped. They've added in a lot of new weapons. Corey Davis, obviously Zach Wilson, a quarterback, and we obviously have Michael Carter here too. But that being said, it's all about where he falls in retrospect to where you're drafting and what you've picked up already. I mean, RB 35 in a 12-man draft seems like he'd be your RB 3. We all know volume's king here. And if he is going to truly be the number one bell cow here, I really don't see much of a threat. Maybe Tevin Coleman comes in, does a little bit of damage in the passing game. But I think this, honestly, if he's getting the first team reps now, he could very well be a good bell cow for you. And on volume alone, he could be an RB3 and maybe even get RB2 value for you.
Solid. I just made a video about him. I like Michael Carter a lot. I liked him kind of coming out of college as well. So he's not a bigger guy. So I kind of view him as like I don't think he's going to be as good as Austin Eckler, but kind of like how Austin Eckler is going to fit into that offense where he's going to catch not Michael Carter's not going to catch as many passes, but he's going to see a lot of receiving work and he's going to have some touches in there, maybe like 100 like 160, 170 touches, like rushing carries and stuff like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't see a huge workload, but I do think RB number 35, there's potential here, especially when you look at his potential in terms of what he can do as a receiver. So I do think that there is potential here. And like you said, RB number 3, it's not like you're paying a massive price for him right now as their 83rd overall player off the board. There's other guys that are going in his range that I like as well, but I do think that, hey, this is starting player on a team that revamped, like you said, revamped the offense. The offensive line is looking better this upcoming season. It should just be a better team. And last thing I want to say too, this is basically coaches that are coming from San Francisco. So you have the outside or well the zone scheme that Shanahan runs. So Michael Carter Michael Carter, he said that well the what not he said, but what the analysts were saying at draft time is he would fit in a zone running scheme. This is a zone running scheme, so it could be a good fit for him. So let's go into the next topic. And since we're talking about players who are hyping up and you hear all this news, let's talk about a player on the Raiders. We had today, it said Henry Ruggs has gained 13 pounds and bulked up in order to be more physical, is what he said. He wants to be more physical. Do you have any interest in not Michael Carter, in Henry Ruggs? Any interest in that? You believe in this? You buying or selling this?
Um, so here's my thing. I definitely am. I'm a Henry Ruggs believer. If you go back and look at last year, I'm a Raiders fan. I paid very close attention to him. I actually listened to John Gruden talk about him the other day. Big thing that happened to him last year is that after the week 1 game, he tweaked his ankle and he wasn't really the same since. Going back and forth, dealing with that, other nagging injuries, also had COVID, didn't have a training camp really. And I think the biggest part last year that we saw is that Nelson Aguilar kind of took the role that Henry Ruggs was going to play. We didn't really know where Ruggs was going to fit in because you had Hunter Renfrow. Ruggs profiles as one of those more slot guys, but he also profiles as potential Tyreek Hill, where he can be outside, be the burner, and if he can just get more of the route tree down, I think he can be in a really good place. If he's truly trying to add that weight, and he wants to be more physical, be on the outside opposite Bryan Edwards and have Ruggs in the slot with Waller, I really think that he can do a lot of damage. We've seen what he could do last year. When healthy, when playing, he's able to take the top off. We all watched the game against the Jets when he had the game-winning catch. Well, maybe not everybody, but I did because I'm a Raiders fan. But I really do think that the ceiling there is no ceiling for him. He could be a very great player, but there does come risk. John Brown was recently picked up, and John Brown is somebody who is kind of like Nelson Aguilar. His nickname is Smoke. He's about speed. And so the big thing is, can Ruggs get into this offense and carve out a role for himself? If he does, I believe his ADP is around 122, which would project him to be around a 9th, 10th round pick. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that if you snag him there, with how the Raiders offense is built, he could potentially be in for a good season. But he's going in 10th round for a reason. There's some risk associated. So tread carefully.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to really see how this Raider offense is going to pan out in terms of the passing game. Really, the only one that I really have any interest in, obviously, Darren Waller.
But, of course. That's a lock.
Well, let's talk about the running back situation, because this is also somebody that he's been kind of going later than usual. I mean, he started his ADP, I don't remember what exactly it was, early summer, but now he's kind of sliding back to like RB number 20, maybe going a little bit later than that at times. He's going in like the 4th round of drafts. So right now, and obviously you're a Raiders fan, so how do you feel about Josh Jacobs? Do you think he's a top 20 guy? Do you think a lot of people are obviously worried about Kenyon Drake, and really, if you look at the splits for Josh Jacobs, he's very, very, very good. He averages like 20 points per game when this team wins. When this team loses, he's outside the top 30 at the position. So how do you feel about Josh Jacobs heading into the season? Would you draft him as a top 20 back in fantasy?
I think RB20 is honestly perfect for him. So here's the thing. Like, Josh Jacobs definitely took a step back last year. I believe we watched his yards per carry drop all the way to 3.3. Definitely not what you want to have in your RB1 or even RB2 here. So with that being said, Kenyon Drake is going to come in here, but from what I've gathered is that Kenyon Drake is going to be doing a lot of different work. He's been lining up everywhere. He's been lining up in the backfield. He's been lining up outside. He's definitely going to be on 3rd down back. He's definitely going to take some of the workload. That being said, John Gruden likes to run the ball, and if the Raiders are up in this game, in any game, I believe you're going to see a heavy dose of both players. That being said, I still think Josh Jacobs is good for a solid RB2 floor, and as such, taking him at RB20 would literally be your RB2 on the back end. I think he is perfectly placed where he is right now.
So who would you rather have out of these guys, David Montgomery or Josh Jacobs?
I'd probably go with David Montgomery, more volume. I believe that he can definitely – I wasn't a big David Montgomery fan last year, but I definitely watched him turn it on late in the stretch last year. That's always a good thing you can see. Usually you see running backs taper out towards the end. They get tired, beaten up, bruised. But he did the opposite. And, guys like that, they show that they can churn out those games for you and get a good, solid playoff run for you. I think David Montgomery will be a better pick.
One last one, because this is honestly, I believe that Mike Davis is going right around this range. I was looking at underdog rankings, well, not rankings, ADP, just because those are like more fleshed out right now, because a lot of people, obviously are doing the drafts there rather than like your mock drafts where people kind of like just go on auto draft and the computer draft. And so like underdog
Hmm.
right now is a little bit more fleshed out. So right now, right by him, he's actually going a spot, I believe, behind Josh Jacobs is Mike Davis. So Josh Jacobs or Mike Davis?
That's a little bit tougher, but once again, I think I'm going to go with Mike Davis strictly based on volume. Another thing that I think Mike Davis is going to be better for. Now it all depends on your league, if you're PPR, non PPR, and what types of leagues you're in. But I really think that Mike Davis, he showed last year that he has pass catching chops when Christian McCaffrey was out. I really didn't expect that coming. Maybe I didn't really know Mike Davis that well, but it is what it is. So I do think, once again, volume is king here. And most importantly, he's going to be catching those balls out of the backfield, where Jacobs, I believe, is going to be used more in a traditional sense, catching a couple balls, but not really going to be a main profile for him. Where I think Mike Davis is going to be all over the place, catching, running, everything he can do for the Falcons. So I'd probably take Davis over him as well.
Yeah, it's close. I do like Mike
It is.
Davis. Like some people they say he's a bad player, and really he's not efficient. If you look at his efficiency, yards per carry, all that, it's not very good. But at the same time, there's nobody on that Falcons roster that is going to give him competition for touches, and they brought him in here. So I probably go Davis as well. I wouldn't feel great about it. But volume is king, and like he's going to see good volume too. It's going to be like those catches. He's going to see a targets, and he's going to see
Like,
work
what
around the
was
goal line.
it was Todd Gurley last year. Yeah, he
Oh
was in
yeah,
Atlanta, if
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
mistaken. I mean, he put together a string of halfway decent RB2-3 performances, and that's just
yeah,
because of volume and falling in the end zone. I mean, if
yeah.
Mike Davis can even do that and then add a little bit more value in the receiving game, I really think that he's got a safe floor as a 2-3 RB for you.
Mm-hmm.
He might not be putting up those eye popping, RB1 numbers, but let's face it, it's Mike Davis.
Yeah,
In reality, you're drafting him to probably just give you some stability at the running back position. I really think you can get that with him.
like a solid, probably like 12 points a week from him is what you'll
Exactly,
get. Hey,
exactly.
hey,
I
that's good
definitely think that
enough.
that's possible. Yeah, I mean, you're not
Like
drafting him
11
to be that
points.
home
Yeah,
run hitter. You're
no.
drafting him to get some consistency at a very scarce position historically in drafts.
Mm-hmm. So let's go on and move to the next topic, and it was I don't know if this happened today or yesterday. Did this happen today? I don't know if it happened. With
I think it was
Xavier,
yesterday. I actually saw
yeah,
something on Twitter or
yeah.
Instagram or something.
I think it was right after we ended the show yesterday, Ben and I. But you have Xavier Howard wants to be traded out of Miami. He said he had a big post on, I don't know if it was Instagram or Twitter, whatever it was. Basically, he feels like he's not being valued. He's not being respected by the Miami Dolphins. He said that he signed a contract. It was back in 2019. It was for 5 years, $75 million. He's basically getting paid $15 million a year. Currently, he's the sixth highest paid cornerback in the NFL, and he feels that he didn't know what he was doing at the time. I don't know if at the time he may have been like the highest paid cornerback at the time. But he says that he's outperformed his contract and basically wants a new contract. He wants to be able to restructure it to get paid more money and then like redo the contract. So, how do you feel about this situation? And how do you feel about players like this, where he signed a contract in 2019 and already wants to redo the contract? How do you feel about it?
So I did look this up a little bit. What I found interesting, and it was something he said, and I actually had to look into it, is that he's the sixth highest paid cornerback, and yet he's not even the highest paid cornerback on his team. I can't remember the gentleman ahead of him, but he actually is the second highest paid quarterback on his team. I forget, like I said, I forget his name, but he's actually the
Is
fifth
it
highest
Byron
paid.
Jones?
I think
I don't
so. I
know
think
that they
that
signed
sounds very
him.
familiar. Yeah. So he's actually making a little bit more. That being said, it all depends on the money that you get, and like signing bonuses, things like that. How much is front loaded? How much is back loaded? There's a lot more that goes into it than just 5 years, 75 mil. Right. I think we can all agree on that. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of teams that don't guarantee money, guarantee more, less, all every which way. But I do think that this is not a peanuts contract. He's still the sixth highest paid cornerback in the league. It'd be one thing if he was grossly underpaid, paid a cornerback average 20 or 15 or something,
Right.
but he's still the sixth highest paid cornerback in the league. I mean, does it stink a little bit that maybe he's being utilized more than a cornerback that's making more money on the team than him? Sure. But at the same time, you're not making peanuts. You're playing on a very good team. That cornerback that you clearly are not too happy about that's making more money than you, which by the way is a little bit of a slap in the face to him, is helping you. It's a lot easier to cover a number one when there's also the number two is also being blanketed on the other side. So for me, I really think that this is not a good situation for him. It does not look good at all. And he honestly, maybe, if he just waited another year or two, maybe they would rework his contract. But I think he's asking too soon. And this isn't something that I'm a fan of, honestly. Like I said, if you're making peanuts, different story, but he's making good money. He should really sit here and play and fill out at least a little bit more of his contract before asking for a restructure.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying because he signed the deal in 2019. He has 4 years, including this year, left on his deal. Byron Jones came last year, so that's why he got paid higher because he also had a really good year, and he got the contract after Xavier Howard got his contract. So it's just the nature of the beast. There's new contracts, like it's like the quarterbacks, right? A guy comes in, he's the highest paid quarterback. Well, you know that the next guy that needs to get paid is going to get paid higher than him or more than him. It's just how it goes. But I do agree that, like, because when you're saying if he's not like he was paid like cornerback number 20, it's like Antonio Brown. Like when everything that happened with Antonio Brown, he was paid like low 20s for a wide receiver. Now at that point, and he had 1 year left on his deal. So at that point, I'm fully in support of being on the player's side because at that point, yes, he's severely underpaid. It's his last year on the contract, and anything can happen. The guy has outperformed that contract, and he should have a new contract going into that season. Whereas with him, this is what, now 2 years in the contract? Hey, you signed it at the time you're one of the highest paid. You still are one of the highest paid cornerbacks in the NFL. So I think it's a bit much, okay? I think I don't like it personally. I don't like it. Like, go out and play. He is going out and playing at least. At least he's not like holding out or anything like that. So that's good. I appreciate him for doing that at least. But hey, it is what it is. Would you like the Raiders to try to trade for him?
We haven't had a defense inside the top 20 in the past, I believe, 7 years, or AKA the length of Derek Carr's career. So yes, I would love it. Can we afford him? Probably not, especially if he wants to be the top paid corner again. I don't think that, but I believe he is a very good talent. We watched that entire Miami defense come out of nowhere last year and be one of the top performing defenses. Very talented. I'd love to get him, but price tag's probably a little too high.
It probably is. I saw today because there's been talks about like Deshaun Watson possibly going to Miami or whatever. Just all talks, but a possible trade between Miami and now Houston because he wants out. So maybe they work something out. But
hey, those are two guys that do both want out and both signed contracts and want out very early in their respective contracts and don't believe that they've been valued by their respective franchises. So who knows? Maybe something gets done there. Poor Tua, but it is what it is.
So let's go ahead into the next segment here. This is going to be over-under, okay? Obviously, you know the nature of the beast. This player going to go over or under this. So currently we have Patrick Mahomes. So on FanDuel Sportsbook, they currently have his total set at 5,000 yards, okay? Is Patrick Mahomes going to go over or under 5,000 passing yards?
Can you? I don't have this handy real quick. I don't know if you do. What was his yards last year?
I believe it was like 4,000. I want to say 4,000. I can check it. I believe it was like 4,000. I want to say like 600. Could be wrong, maybe, because he also didn't play a game last year.
True.
4,700, 740. So he was averaging 316 yards per game last year.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm probably going to go under here, and it's not because of the lack of talent at the positions around him or anything like that. 5,000 is just a lot. You know, if anything happens to him again where he misses even one game, you're probably not going to get there. So
Hmm.
you're already banking with a new 17 game season that he's not going to get hurt at all. I do believe that he's all the weapons are still there. They're productive. It'll be close. For me, this is honestly one I'd probably stay away from. I'm not too confident either way, but gun to the head, I'm going on.
I'd probably go under as well. I mean, I'm definitely gonna bet under because you have no idea what can happen. Travis Kelsey gets
Anybody could
hurt.
get hurt.
Exactly, what's that team gonna look like? So, I if I'm a betting man, I would go under. So then
Yeah,
the next one we have here, we have Darren Waller, your homie. Receiving yards are currently at 1,100. Over under that total.
I think we're due for a little bit of regression here, Ty. I think I'm going to go under. I did look at his totals last year. He was like, I believe, 1196. Very good. He did turn it on down the stretch. Didn't get a lot of touchdowns last year, but definitely got the yards. I really do honestly believe, as a Raiders fan, maybe I don't have a choice but to believe that this Raiders receiving core is really going to get it together this year. We have Bryan Edwards, third round pick last year, got hurt in the Patriots game. Didn't see him basically for the rest of the year. Like I said earlier, Henry Ruggs hurt most of the season. COVID. Also, both those guys didn't have a training camp. We're going to bring John Brown here for some veteran presence. Kenyon Drake catching balls out of the backfield. I think this offense is going to be a little bit more dynamic, and it's going to go through a lot more players and not just Darren Waller. Darren Waller is going to be the number one guy, of course, but I really do think Gruden wants to use all the tools in his toolbox, and as such, I think we're going to see a little bit more love spread around this year. So once again, not due to a lack of talent, I just think due to a lack of maybe a little bit of volume regression, he's going to be under.
I'm gonna say, I mean, obviously, if I'm betting, I most of these I'm just gonna bet the under, unless there's one that I'm absolutely looking at and like, oh my gosh, yes, definitely over. But for this one, I'd probably bet the under as well. Once again, you don't know what happened. If he misses one game, I just don't see him definitely not getting over that. I feel like he has to play a full season for that to happen. So one game, anything can happen in the NFL. So I would bet the under for that. And I just feel like he's gonna come right around that number, like right around 1,100. So it gives him no wiggle room. So I would bet the under. So let's go to the next one where we have 10 total touchdowns for Jonathan Taylor this upcoming season. Over under.
I'm actually going to smash the over here. Ironically, after talking about all these unders and how safe they are. Jonathan Taylor, big fan. Did not the biggest fan of him going into last year. I actually was a Marlon Mack fan. Marlon Mack got hurt. I still think he could come back, maybe have a little bit of an impact. But Jonathan Taylor showed that this is his job to lose this year, and he's going in first rounds of drafts, very respectfully, and he deserves it. 10 total touchdowns. I don't think that that's a lot. Jonathan Taylor can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's going to be running the ball. I believe he gets Houston twice a year, who is one of the worst rush defenses in the league last year. Also have Jacksonville there, not too sold on their rushing defense. You get both of them twice a year. I think I'm going to hit the over here.
I'm going to say over as well. I've been watching some experts, fantasy analysis, whatever you want to call them, talking about Jonathan Taylor, and a lot of them are starting to like get down on Jonathan Taylor, while me at the beginning of this offseason, I was down on him. Now I'm like, man, he's the best back in this backfield. Like, he's going to get like a lot of touches. Sure, Nyheim Hines probably going to still be involved. He's going to be a pass catching specialist. You're going to have Marlon Mack a little bit, but I just feel like Marlon Mack it's going to be a really tough injury for him to come back from. Jonathan Taylor will be the guy, and especially around the goal line, he'll be the guy. So I think that this is absolutely a smash, and they have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. So I would go over 10 total touchdowns.
Side note. Do you really trust this? Just real quick. Do you really trust Carson Wentz to be throwing the ball in the end zone too, and they're on the goal line? If it's first and 10 on the goal line, I'm giving it to Taylor.
Yeah, I'll give it to Taylor a bunch for sure. Derrick Henry, 1,539 rushing yards. Over or under?
I'm probably going to regret this one if I do make this bet, but I'm going to go over again.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think that this offense has the potential to be one of the most powerful offenses in the AFC and rival the Chiefs. This offense with Julio coming in here is you either believe one of two things. You think Derrick Henry is going to be used less and that Tannehill and the passing offense is going to be used more, or you believe that Julio Jones is going to take more guys out of the box, make the box less stacked for Derrick Henry, who already doesn't really care if there's a stacked box. With 17 games in the season, Derrick Henry's been healthy, very healthy over the course of the past couple of years. I don't see any reason for that changing. He's a beast. He runs over people. When he gets hit, he's the one that does the damage, not vice versa. So I think that allows him to stay healthier throughout the season. And multiple times I've just learned not to bet against the king.
I'd probably go under, but that's a lot of rushing yards. But if there's anybody that can easily do it, obviously it's him. Nick Chubb would be another one. But it's tough to definitely say under. But once again, it's just you don't know what can happen. And yes, he's been very healthy, but he's also accrued a lot of touches over these past few years now. So catch up to him. Does it not? He's also just a freak of nature as a human specimen. So he probably will be fine. But I will say I'll say under. And then this last one is Najee Harris, over or under 1,000 rushing yards.
I am actually going to smash the over here. I was watching a little bit of Najee Harris. Living in Pittsburgh here, I definitely hear a good bit of him on the radio. He looks like the best running back, and he should be the best running back out of this draft. He looks very crisp, very smooth, also decent size. 230 is nothing to scoff at, coming at you. Very fresh legs. I don't see how. He has no competition for touches. The next guy behind him is Benny Snell, and I can't remember who they brought in. They brought in somebody else too, but basically a clone of Benny Snell. They might come in a couple short yardage situations, goal to goal here, might steal a touchdown, but we're talking rushing yards. 17 games, he had 1,000 rushing yards. I'm smashing that.
I agree. I would definitely smash that. The only concern really is the offensive line. How do they play? But still,
yes,
I feel like volume alone, like the dude could probably get to about 300 total rushes. I would not be surprised by that. Like they're going to feed him the ball. Benny Snell's not going to come in here and touch the ball. It's going to be him. That's what they've done throughout Mike Tomlin's whole career with the team. So I expect that to happen. So I would absolutely smash that over as well. All right. So let's go on. And for the last segment here, we'll talk about a couple players that maybe you like for the upcoming season. I'll talk about a couple players I like. So first, I'll go ahead and I'll start first, and then you can go ahead and go next. So the first person that I want to talk about that I guess it kind of depends on there's two people here. I'll go ahead and just talk about both of them because they play on the same team. So the first one is going to be Deshaun Watson. Now, maybe Deshaun Watson ends up in jail next week. Maybe he plays the full season. I have no idea. But for where he's going right now is just like, I'll take the risk. I don't care. Like he's going as like quarterback 17 or something. And in underdog leagues, it's way later. It's like 16th round he's gone. So I'll take the risk. I'll bet on it. Maybe he plays. And if he doesn't, oh well. Chances are people that you're going to get in that round aren't going to do shit anyways. So I'll take the risk because he just offers so much upside. And then his receiver, Brandon Cooks, has been extremely good basically throughout his entire career. There was 1 year in LA he didn't do very well, and then his rookie season. But other than that, he's finished as a top 20 guy every single season. And this is somebody, if Deshaun Watson does play, and Brandon Cooks the wide receiver number one, Brandon Cooks currently going as like wide receiver, I forget what it is, in the 30s or 40s, somewhere around there. So he can easily outperform his ADP and be easily a top 20 guy. Like I honestly believe like borderline top 10 guy, a back end wide receiver number one if Deshaun Watson plays the full season. And if he doesn't, chances are he could still finish inside the top 30 at his position. So where he's going currently, I still think he'll beat out his ADP. So those are two guys that I like a lot, and I have a lot of shares in best ball because I'm okay with taking the risk there. And where Brandon Cooks is going, I still think he'll outperform that even if he doesn't play. So who are your guys?
So for me, I'm going to start with probably my favorite guy. I think he's going late. I think it's criminal. Mecole Hardman. So for me, Miko, I was actually really big on him his rookie year. I definitely swung for the fences way too soon, and he definitely didn't pan out for me when I drafted him as a rookie in his second year. But I do believe that with Sammy Watkins gone, finally going to Baltimore, I believe he's a receiver that's needed to also come up to speed a little bit, get more in tune with the offense. We've seen this Andy Reid offense; it's very complex. There's a lot of different players going in a lot of different directions pre-snap, and it's a lot to wrap your head around. But Miko Hardman, a true burner, very very elite speed. There's already so many people to worry about with um, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Like they're going to command so much of the defense's attention. I think Miko Hardman can be very sneaky. And for me, that's just a no brainer. I'm really big on Miko this year.
I agree with you. And he right now in your standard drafts, your regular redrafts, he's going super late. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I
I'd
think you're going to
imagine,
see him creep up the boards.
yeah,
You're going to see him creep up the boards.
for sure. People will start to come around to it, and they'll notice that Sammy Watkins is gone, and there's probably going to be a bunch of love for him, so he'll probably fly up the draft board. But I do like him for this upcoming season, even if he goes a little bit early. Like we'll have to see where he ends up finishing out, but I do like him as well. Another player that I want to talk about that's getting really no love is James White. He's somebody that currently is being drafted. I think you can get him right now in best ball leagues. Is like he's currently going, I think, like RB 49, 45 in that range. And for me, like this offense has gone, it should be a lot better than what it was last year. Last year he had 60, I believe like 66 targets, and he also missed 2 games. So I think with a full season, if he's able to stay healthy, can easily see over 75 targets because there's no Rex Burkhead as well. So you kind of have this void for targets right now. Does Sony Michel play? Does Stevenson, the rookie that they draft, does he take some passing down work? Right now, I just feel like he's a lock for passing down work right now on an offense that historically likes to throw to the running backs, and I think Cam Newton will throw to him. Even if it's Mac Jones, he's just somebody that easily can outperform his ADP where he's currently going because he's just going to catch a decent amount of balls this upcoming season, and catching passes is very valuable for a running back. So, who's
especially
somebody else?
In PPR leagues.
Yes, especially PPR.
Especially in PPR leagues. And speaking of PPR leagues, we've already touched on him in your last segment, but another guy I'm really big fan of is Najee Harris this year. I think I've seen Najee creep into the first round. I've seen him go as late as, depending on the mock draft, as late as early third. I think that, like you said earlier, the big highlight here was the offensive line. Looking at the Steelers offensive line, I believe they only have one returning offensive lineman from last year. So it is going to be a bit of a patchwork job up front. But I think that if it's a patchwork job up front, then he's going to be getting a lot of love in the short passing game. There's nobody else on this team that's really going to be catching balls. And especially, I am making my assumption here based on a half or full PPR league, not a non-PPR league. If it's non-PPR, not as big a fan of Harris, but I do believe he's going to be catching a lot of balls out of the backfield. 230, going to be really tough to bring down in open space, very shifty. I have no problem with Najee Harris being my number one RB. And I think that in the next month's time here, as these drafts come out, I think that everybody else is going to be agreeing as well.
I agree with that. And I do want to say about their offensive line, because a lot of people talk about this, and I don't think a lot of people actually know what's going on here. So Marquise Pouncey retired. He sucked last year. He sucked for the past 2 years. The dude has been god awful. He's been one of the worst graded offensive
also hurt
by Pro Football Focus. Yes, because he's just had a bunch of injuries in his career, and he's just not the same player. Same thing with David DeCastro. Had a significant ankle injury, and that's why the team cut him, because he can't move anymore. So those 2 guys are gone, and then you have Banner. He tore his ACL last year. Chucks. This offensive line honestly should be better than what it was last year, because it was pretty freaking bad last year. And it's a young offensive line that it's probably going to take a little bit of time to get up to speed for them. But I believe that if they can stay healthy, this line will gel over the course of the season, and it'll be good for the Steelers. So I don't want people thinking like it's not going to be that good, but it's not like Marquise Pouncey leaving is big for this team. Believe me, he was not good. Okay, so one last player. I've already talked about this guy. I'm a Steelers homer, but Juju right now going as wide receiver number 40. Like, to me, I see people say he's just not very good, and I mean he produces. Like, He's put up numbers every single year. Big Ben has been the quarterback for this team. Every single year, he's finished inside the top 20 with Big Ben at the helm. He's never finished he's never had under 7 touchdowns. Big Ben looks his way in the red zone when he needs a first down. I don't expect that to change. I know that they have Claypool and Deontay, but he's still going to get love and can easily be, he's going to be better than like wide receiver number 40 this upcoming season. So he's somebody that it's like I have him in a bunch of my best ball leagues as well, as because he's going in like round 8. Like he sometimes goes in round 7, but a lot of the time he'll go in round 8 and I'll snatch him up. You're looking at guys like, I mean, I like Will Fuller as well, but just a bunch of guys in that range that I believe he can easily outperform. So Juju, and go ahead. Why don't you take it off? I'm
One
all
last
done.
guy.
So
One
go
last
ahead.
guy for me. I think he's going very late right now. If you're, I know that you're a fan of this, taking a late quarterback, not going out and grabbing one of the big names. I think a guy that he's on the radar for sure, but I think that you can get him late. I don't think he's going to rise up the board. And I think that if you are not trying to snag one of those top quarterbacks, that look at Joe Burrow. Like, I mean, I know he's coming back off an ACL tear, but the weapons around him, my God. I mean,
Yeah.
you're looking at Jamar Chase, you got T. Higgins, you have Tyler Boyd. These are 3 very good receivers that are going to immediately make an impact. If I'm not mistaken, Joe Burrow played with Jamar Chase at LSU, is correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're bringing a connection like that as a Raiders fan. When Devontae Adams said he was unhappy, he wanted to, I'm thinking Derek Carr, Devontae Adams reunion, maybe, that had me chomping at the bit. If you're telling me that these guys get to carry this connection over after only a year of being separated, that's huge. And Jamar Chase is a talent. You have Joe Mixon coming out of the backfield. Not too sure about the offensive line. I believe they've added a couple pieces to shore it up. And then Samaj Piran did absolutely fine last year when Joe Mixon didn't play. So they have a little bit of depth there. The offense is loaded. And if this Bengals defense is going to play like the Bengals defense of last year, Joe Burrow is going to be in some shootouts. And if he's going to be in shootouts, then why not for fantasy? Like we've seen it. People always want to talk smack on a guy like Jameis Winston, for example, who almost made made somebody I wanted to talk about too. But he might have threw 30 picks, but every time he throws a pick, the other team scores, and then he gets back on the field again. It's just there's more opportunities. The game goes longer. There's more points scored. More times you have to play comeback, play catch up. So I really think that could be a really great asset for you. You could snag him in the later rounds, and he could be a potential starting quarterback for you this year.
No, I agree with that. I do like Joe Burrow as well because, like you said, volume, and he could honestly lead the NFL in passing attempts. I think Dallas will probably pass the ball the most. But they're going to be right there. They're going to throw the ball a ton. So I do like that. And he has offensive weapons all over the board. So it's a good one as well. So before we log off here, anything else you want to say before we go ahead and,
Yeah, real quick. Just that I did read something real quick. I know that you just talked about Deshaun Watson, but I have to say this. He was practicing with the 4th team today. He was actually even playing the quarterback for just the starting defense on the other side.
For the scout team?
Definitely not a good look. Yeah, basically scout team. Not really a good look. But yeah, so that's definitely something to look into. Definitely like you said, keep a close eye on it. You never know what's going to happen. That doesn't really mean much, but we are in the early stages of everything, and so that as such, I do believe that is news.
That's true. That is good to know. So hopefully he takes some first team reps, obviously. So we'll have to see here in the leading days what happens, but that's why you subscribe. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest news. So, well, thanks, Cruz. I appreciate you coming around and hanging out and talking football, dude.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, it's a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on again.
Week, right?
Absolutely. You already know.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and have a great day.